My parents and brother promised to watch my 5-year-old son while I was away for an audition. 3 days later, he ended up in the hospital. There was an adult sedative in his blood. Everyone blamed me. But I showed them this. The truth was to be much worse than expected. If you've never left your 5-year-old with your own family while rushing off to an audition you've been chasing for 10 years, don't judge me just yet. You would have done the same thing in my shoes. Especially if your ticket to the life you've been scraping toward forever finally showed up. I'm an actress. Not the kind you recognize from posters or shampoo commercials. The kind you probably don't even notice. Blink and you miss it cameos. Background dancer number 5. Cold corpse in a detective show. That was me. Until one day, after 1,000 thanks, we'll be in touch, someone actually was. A real part. Supporting role. She had a name. A storyline. Not mom number 3. 8 episodes. A contract. Paychecks. Health insurance. And if you live in the US, you know how big that last one is. It was one of those rare moments when life didn't just smirk at me from a distance, it actually nodded back. I hugged the producer, signed the paperwork, slammed my trunk shut, and drove home down the highway like I was floating. Didn't feel the wheel, didn't see the road. Just kept thinking, we made it, baby. Everything's changing. The house was dark and quiet when I got there. Big, 2-story place with one of those overly perfect lawns, my parents' house. The one I'd come crawling back to 3 years ago after my divorce. Holding a toddler and a suitcase full of shame. It was supposed to be temporary. Ryan, my son, was already asleep. I kissed his forehead, checked if he was breathing, yeah, I'm that mom, and went to take a shower. I had big plans for the morning, tell my parents about the role. Tell my younger brother Jason I could help cover his college tuition. He was applying to that private school in Austin he'd been dreaming about. And then, of course, the universe swerved. Around 4 a.m., Ryan woke up. His voice was raspy. Mom, my tummy hurts. And my head too. I sat next to him. He looked pale, sweaty, hands trembling. His forehead felt like ice. His eyes wouldn't focus. And the way he was talking, barely above a whisper. Not whiny. Just fading. 7 minutes later, we were in the ER, lights flashing. The doctor on call asked what he'd eaten, what he'd drunk, any illnesses. I told him everything I knew. Ryan's not the type to sneak candy, let alone meds. He still asks before chewing gum. When the labs came back, the doctor looked at me with this calm, heavy expression I'll never forget. He has a sedative in his system. Adult strength. Quite a strong one. I think I forgot how to breathe for a full 5 minutes. You're sure? That can't be right. He didn't take anything. He had juice and pizza. That's it. The doctor didn't flinch. We're required to report this. That drug isn't safe for children under 12. He's stable now, but it could have caused respiratory failure. You were lucky. I just kept nodding. Like if I sat still enough, this would all unhappen. My mom showed up at the hospital that morning. Dad stayed home. Jason too, he'd left the night before with his girlfriend and hadn't made it back for dinner, or so they said. Mom asked what happened. I told her. As best I could. Sedative? She repeated like it was a word from a different language. Maybe you left something out? Or your ex gave him something weird. You know how strange he always was. I saw where this was going. It wasn't even subtle. By lunchtime, Ryan was doing better. A pediatrician checked him again, said his vitals were fine, and he could recover at home. I signed the forms, took the discharge papers, and we drove back. He fell asleep in the car. Cheeks pink again. Breathing soft. I stroked his hair the whole way, whispering that it was over now. That everything was okay. But it wasn't. Around 6 p.m., my phone rang. It was a detective from Child Protective Services. Said the hospital had reported the incident, and he needed to come talk to me. Just a routine follow-up, he added. I told him 6 was fine. Thanked him. Hung up. Then sat at the kitchen table with my hands shaking. Sometimes I think I was born feeling guilty. Not for anything I did, just in advance. Like my subconscious knew I'd need a head start before my parents started with the "we didn't raise you for this" speeches. They always praised me, after the criticism. First came the sighs, the comparisons, the subtle digs. Then maybe if I was lucky, well, I guess you did okay, but still. Jason? Totally different story. He was the boy. The hope of the family. When he was born I was 7, and that was the first time I truly felt replaceable. He'd cry, Mom would rush to him. I'd cry, and get told to go cry in your room. He'd drop a glass, sweetheart, accidents happen. I'd drop anything, Amber, why are you always so careless? By age 10, I knew how to wash my face silently, how to close a door without a sound, how to help out just enough not to get accused of being lazy. I didn't realize back then that I wasn't just being polite, I was training for survival. When I told them I wanted to go to drama school, Mom raised an eyebrow. Dad shrugged. If you want to waste time, go ahead. Just don't say we didn't warn you. So I worked. First semester, I juggled classes, gigs, usher shifts at a tiny theater, improv shows in the park just to scrape together grocery money. And then I met Matt. Charming. Older. Said I had those classic Hollywood eyes. Next thing I knew, I was pregnant. And you know who was the first to say, "We'll help you"? Barbara. My mom. Not out of joy. It felt more like she thought, good. She screwed up. Now I've got leverage. Matt stuck around long enough for us to make it look respectable. We got married. Then, 2 years later, he left. Said he was tired. Said he needed a new start. Moved to Arizona and vanished. And I stayed behind. In the same house I grew up in, only now with a crib shoved into a room that once had posters of Meryl Streep and Cate Blanchett. Jason was 11. He helped me carry my bags. Played with Ryan. Told me he'd grow up to be a real man, not like Matt. I believed him. We were close, at least, as close as you can be with a mom who asks every 5 minutes if your presence is corrupting her precious boy. But then Jason grew up. Gym sessions, parties, girls. We could still talk, but it was rarer. He started sounding like Dad, quick with a joke whenever things got serious. Great at being around, not so great at being there. When I told Mom I needed to leave for an audition, a real one, something that mattered, she stared at me for a second and then said, "Are you sure it's worth abandoning your child for?" "I'm not abandoning anyone," I said. "It's 3 days. He's staying here. With you. He knows you. His room, his toys, it's all here. And if he gets sick? You raised 2 kids. You can handle one for a weekend." Dad snorted. "We handled it when they were ours. He's not ours." I should have known then. I should have paused. But I didn't. I just kept my eyes on the goal. One shot. Just one. The truth? I barely left the house those first 2 years. Then I started picking up small gigs. Background roles. Day shoots. Just enough to feel like I wasn't dying inside. Last week, I got a call about an audition in LA, 2.5 hours by car. Not around the corner, but manageable. Casting director meet and greet, cold reads, callbacks. 3 days total. I stayed with a friend. The role? Supporting female character. Lines. Face on screen. A real part. Hundreds of girls auditioning. And somehow, I landed it. The director said, "You're exactly what we're looking for." The producer shook my hand. I signed a contract. With money. And health insurance. I went to the bathroom, looked in the mirror, and didn't leave until I realized I was crying. Not from pain. From relief. I was alive again. I wanted to celebrate. I imagined going home, telling my parents that this was it, things were going to be different now. I even thought stupidly about buying them a new TV. Helping Jason with college. He was applying to UT Austin, private, pricey, fancy. I couldn't cover the whole thing, but I could pitch in. I drove home with dreams spinning in my head. When I got there, the house was dark. Everyone asleep. I didn't think twice. And when Ryan got sick, I didn't think at all. I just panicked like any mother would. But when my mom showed up at the hospital and started hinting that maybe I had overlooked something, that maybe I had caused this, all the old feelings came rushing back. The guilt. The shame. The silent assumption that everything bad in the house, my fault. Because I was born first. Because I was a girl. Because I had dreams. And Jason? I asked where he was. With his girlfriend, Mom said. Left Friday night, I think. He promised he'd watch Ryan. You know how boys are. They're not exactly babysitters. Just like that. No one at fault. Everyone busy. Kid ends up in the hospital, and we all just shrug and move on. I thought that was the worst of it. Then the phone rang. It's just protocol, the detective said. Protocol. Like finding sedatives in your 5-year-old's bloodstream is no big deal. I sat down in the kitchen, stared at the fridge. Ryan's drawing was still pinned there, him and me, standing under a sun with giant wobbly rays. And all I could think was, if the cops decide this was my fault, they can take my son away. He showed up right at 6. No uniform, just jeans, a gray button-down shirt, and a badge hanging from a lanyard. His hair was neatly trimmed, his expression calm. But his eyes were the kind that hear everything. Even the stuff you don't say. Miss Watson. Yes. Come in. I led him into the living room. Ryan was asleep upstairs. My mom was in the kitchen, pretending to wash dishes that had already been cleaned. My dad was in his usual spot, sunk into the recliner like part of the upholstery. Jason was nowhere to be found. I'm Detective Markson. Child Protective Services, County Police. I'm not here for an interrogation, just an assessment. I hope you understand. I nodded and grabbed my coffee, cold by then, just to have something in my hands. My palms were trembling. Can you walk me through where you were during the days this incident occurred? I told him everything. The drive to LA, the audition, staying with my friend. The callback that stretched things another day. Then the drive home. 3 days. That was it. He asked, and who was caring for your son during that time? My parents. And my brother. Jason. He's 19. Who was primarily looking after the child? I think, mostly my mom. But Jason was around too. He loves Ryan. He typed quietly on his tablet. Calm. Neutral. No judgment in his tone. Not a single twitch on his face. Were there any medications in the house? Just the basics in the cabinet. Tylenol. Cough syrup. Stuff like that. Any sleep aids? Prescription sedatives? No. I don't use that stuff. If I can't sleep, I drink coffee and push through. That's when my mom decided to chime in from the kitchen, with her signature voice, all concern, no accountability. She's mentioned trouble sleeping before. Maybe she had something in her purse? And forgot. I felt his eyes shift back to me. More focused now. I looked at my mom. She was wiping a perfectly clean plate, looking helpful and maternal. I didn't have any pills, I said clearly. And I didn't give him anything. Not before, not after I left. The detective nodded and took notes. Then my dad called out from the recliner like he was commenting on the weather. Maybe he found something himself. Kids get into things. He can't reach the medicine cabinet, I said. It's too high. And he doesn't know how to open blister packs. Markson nodded again. All right. I'll write up a report. Someone may follow up later. For now, it's just a wellness check. He stood and shook my hand. Then turned to my mom. Thank you for being home. Have a good evening. And you too, officer, she said sweetly. As soon as the door shut, I collapsed onto the couch. My legs felt like water. I could feel it building inside me. That pressure. Like a fuse had been lit and the explosion was just waiting for the right second. About 20 minutes later, my phone rang. Matt. I stared at the screen. Then answered. Are you out of your mind? He snapped. You know who just called me? The police. The actual police. They said our son had sedatives in his system. Are you serious right now? I didn't give him anything, Matt. I just got home. It happened while he was with them. Oh, so it's your parents now? Or your brother? The 19-year-old whose bedroom probably looks like a pharmacy. I don't know who's responsible. But it wasn't me. Maybe you were tired. Maybe you left something out. You're always tired, Amber. Maybe he found something in your purse. I exhaled. Slowly. You don't get to accuse me. I get to think about my son's safety. Maybe I should file for custody. At least I don't disappear for 3-day auditions and leave him with God knows who. I hung up. And then I just sat there. Everything was quiet. Except for the thumping in my ears. And then, it hit me. A spark. Right down my spine. Cameras. I jumped up. My dad looked over from the corner but didn't say a word. I went into my room and pulled out my old laptop. When Ryan was 2, I'd had cameras installed in the living room, kitchen, and hallway. It was a paranoid move, yeah, but I was hiring a babysitter for the first time, and I needed peace of mind. They came with an app and a cloud archive. I hadn't checked them in forever. But they'd been running in the background this whole time. As long as the Wi-Fi worked, everything went to the cloud. I logged onto the site. Typed in the old password. Wrong. Tried again. Still wrong. Then, forgot password? Yes. Yes, I did. I entered my email. Got a reset link. Created a new password. Logged in. The cameras were still active. The most recent clip was from that morning. The system had kept recording the whole time. I pulled up the archive. Went to the night it happened. Ryan woke up around 4 a.m. So I needed to check everything from 7 p.m. on. I started with the kitchen. Nothing. Switched to the hallway. The footage was slow to load. I scrolled back. Around 9 p.m., the night of the incident, it looked like a sitcom scene. Minus the laugh track. Jason was dressed like he was going clubbing, checking his watch. Mom, I'm heading out. I've got a date. My mom was rubbing her temple. I've got a migraine. I was going to bed early. I can't deal with a 5-year-old right now. My dad was already camped out on the couch with beer and chips. Game's on. Finals. I'm not moving. Jason shrugged. Well, then give him something to sleep. I dunno. Knock him out or something. He smirked and left without waiting for an answer. Silence. Then Mom turned to Dad. What if we did? Just a little. So he sleeps easy. Dad grimaced. Crush up one of those pills. I'll mix it into juice. He won't know the difference. And they did. They took one of Mom's leftover sleeping pills, old ones from when she had insomnia. Crushed it with a spoon. Stirred it into a glass of juice. Called Ryan into the kitchen like they were just giving him a nighttime snack. And he drank it. That was their choice. Their laziness. Their fear of being mildly inconvenienced by a 5-year-old with energy. And now? Now they were acting like it was a mystery. Like maybe it had been me. And Detective Markson? He was probably halfway back here by now. Because the worst part of this wasn't just what they did. It was that they were willing to let me take the fall for it. And that was going to change. Real fast. I used to believe things would get better if I just waited it out. Bit my tongue. Let it slide. Just a little longer, I told myself. Just a little more patience. Turns out just a little is infinite, unless you draw the line yourself. After Detective Markson's visit, everything moved fast. I handed over the footage, the one from the kitchen camera. You could clearly see my mom taking out a pill, crushing it with a spoon. My dad mixing it into Ryan's juice. Calling him in. Watching him drink. Sitting him down on the couch. His tiny body swaying from side to side 10 minutes later, eyelids heavy like curtains closing on a stage. There was no audio. But it didn't matter. There was no he found it by accident, no we thought it was vitamins. Just a decision. Made by 2 grown adults too lazy to spend an evening with a 5-year-old. The police reacted immediately. Markson called and said they were opening a case. I didn't know if I was supposed to feel relieved or terrified. Everything felt like it was happening to someone else. Like I was watching from the outside, arms crossed, whispering, "Damn that poor woman." My mom was the first one they brought in. She cried. A lot. Said she didn't mean harm, that it was just a mistake, that everyone slips up sometimes. My dad was stiffer. Stone-faced. Silent. Then finally muttered, "This is her fault." Jason went in last. They called him in on Saturday. He was in there for over an hour and a half. Then he texted me, "Amber, I swear I didn't know. I was joking. I didn't think they'd actually do it. I never would have given him anything myself. I'm a freaking idiot. I'm so sorry." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I put the phone down and cried. That same week, I packed our things. I called a realtor, a friend of a friend from set. Found a place in Glendale. Nothing fancy, but it had light. Windows that faced south. A small balcony where I could sip coffee without anyone telling me I was doing it wrong. I didn't say goodbye. Didn't explain. Just left. Now I wake up in a bed that's mine. In a home that's mine. With my son asleep in the room next door, tucked into dinosaur sheets, a rocket-shaped nightlight glowing beside him, his books stacked by importance on the shelf he organized himself. Every morning, Grace arrives, our nanny. She's a college student studying early childhood education. Sweet. Funny. Observant. Ryan adores her. And I can go to set without checking my phone every 10 minutes, wondering if the house is on fire or my kid's been drugged again. Work is good. They extended my contract for 8 more episodes. The checks are regular. For the first time in years, I paid off debt, got insurance, and even saved a little. I'm not living paycheck to paycheck anymore. My parents? They didn't go to prison. They got probation, a fine, $5,000, and court-mandated parenting classes and counseling sessions. I kept my eyes down the whole time in court. I didn't need revenge. I just needed to know Ryan would never see them again, at least not for a very long time. Jason's harder. He never got into college, the first tuition payment never made it, and without my support, the school withdrew his offer. Now he works at a gym. Cleaning. Helping people with weights. Sometimes he texts me. I know I screwed up. I didn't mean for it to happen. I'm working now. Saving for night classes. Maybe it's not too late if I just keep trying. I read them. Sometimes I even smile. But I don't reply. Not yet. Maybe someday. Because for too long, I was the one who explained. Who made excuses. Smoothed everything over. Lived in the consequences of other people's choices. Now I just live. Ryan doesn't wake up screaming anymore. He laughs again. Draws pictures of monster trucks and says he wants to be a pilot. Some weekends, he goes to his dad's. We're not friends but we're co-parents, and Matt got the message. If he ever lies or manipulates again, he won't just lose me. He'll lose Ryan too. The court gave him partial custody under strict supervision. That worked for me. Ryan doesn't need to be collateral damage in someone else's ego war. We're done with the guilt. The gaslighting. The fake smiles and whispered criticisms. I have a voice now. A choice. And a son I'll rebuild the world for, one safe, quiet, happy morning at a time. And this time, it's real. If this story hit home, hit that like button and subscribe. And in the comments, tell me what you would have done in my place. I'm genuinely curious. Thanks for sticking around till the end.